Yo, was geht up? This is Max from Real Social Dynamics, hanging out here with Julian Block. We're kicking it here in Los Angeles, Hollywood. And in this video, we will talk about these 6 irresistible things to say to a girl that make her instantly like you. Without any further ado, before we're gonna crack into that, I need you to do me a favor and do consider hitting that subscribe button underneath this video. Next to that is a little bell symbol. You hit that, and that way you always get notifications every time I'm uploading a new video. So consider that if you like this content. That being said, the first word that is irresistible to say to a girl is no. Big surprise there. Now, why is that important? We're just gonna kind of scratching the surface a little bit here. It's important because women love a man with personal boundaries. In fact, they will test you in order to find out, do you have personal boundaries, or would you do anything to be with a girl like me? And basically, if you say no, I'm not saying say no all the fucking time, like this crazy guy fucking yelling up there. No, I'm saying say no when it's generally something that you don't want to do. And if you can say that, the girl is like, wait a minute, he does not do everything in his power in order to get with me. That means he probably has something like abundance. He probably has a lot of choices. So now I want him. Like, it's so crazy. Like, you say no. Like, basic example is the girl is you're out there partying with your friends. You might have met the girl at the bar or at the club, and you're killing it. You're having a good time, and she's like, come outside. Every beta male with no options would be like, okay, I'm here. Where are you? I'm trying to find you. While she probably like sees you, like look at like waiting there like a dog. She's like, what a peasant. Get out. But if you're just like, haha, no. Or the translation, it doesn't need to be an actual no. You could be like, haha, maybe later. She's like, how dare he? I'm a hot girl. How dare he? I must show him that he must chase me. So now she starts investing. Ain't that great?
Mm-hmm. It also shows like a lot of authenticity, you know, because every guy who's talking to her, as you said, is trying to be the most agreeable, the most pleasing, like whatever she says is awesome, and he agrees with it. And when you're like no, or you disagree sometimes, it shows her like, oh, you know, I can trust this person, because if you're saying yes all the time, it's extremely fucking fake.
Like that's you do that like all the time. Like the girl's like, I like this movie. You're like, no. Like, no. It's like even if you actually like it, you're like, no, fuck that movie.
I know, it's like no. And also one thing I'd add here is like do it with a bit of a smile. As you said, like don't be the dick who's like, no, no. It's like, do you want to hang out? No. It's like, play it smart.
We had that student once, I think it was even on a bouquet with you and me, where we told him that, like disagree. And then he's like, okay, so this girl is like, I have my new purse, do you like my purse? He's like, it looks like shit. And the girl's like, what the fuck? So say it with a little bit of humor behind it, basically.
Yeah, a hint of a smile. The second one is never mind. Okay, and this is where you ask the girl a question, for example. You're like, hey, so are you from Los Angeles? She's like, yeah. And you're like, never mind. And just look away. It's never mind, look away. Or you're about to ask something like, oh, whoa, you know what? Never mind. And she's like, what? It creates like this loop, like, yeah, as you said, this vacuum effect, yeah, that just like reels her in. And I do this all the time. Like, you know what, can I tell you something? Never mind, I don't know if I can. Or, wait, can I, it's really important. Like, I feel like I can tell you this. Actually, no. She's like, no, tell me. Like, no, never mind. It's a pretty nice night out, isn't it? Just change the topic, and then, yeah, she's like, yeah, reeled in. Like,
yeah, like, I love that. Like, this is super key. You got to immediately change the topic, because I see a lot of guys that are like, oh, never mind.
And then they look at like,
and the girl like, so, you know, so you gotta just change the topic in order to create that pressure, because it's funny because you're basically reeling in that attention by saying like, can I say something, or are you from LA? Attention there, never mind, and then by the way, you change the topic, so you get the attention of something else. And there many times, not even like, I wouldn't even say the girl, but in general, the conversational partner will like kind of feel this pressure in their brain of like, there was something, I don't really know what it was because we're already talking about something else, but there was something that they wanted to say, so it creates this like open loop. It's like basically like, look at TV shows like Game of Thrones or Lost, like that's basically all they do at the end of every episode. Yeah. It's like, something's gonna happen. Oh, never mind, 40 minutes is over. And you're like, let me watch the next episode. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I'll build it too with like sometimes like questions that are just out of the blue. Like I'll ask the girl like, oh, by the way, are your parents divorced? She's like, whether it's yes or no. And I'm like, oh, interesting. What? No, never mind. It's like,
So yeah, and then you can like, and then something I see you doing a lot is you keep stacking, like you stack those open loops up so hard until they're craving for that validation, and then you can you know, like you can say like, oh, let's go over to the bar or let's go outside and catch some fresh air, and they'll be like, okay, because I have been experiencing this lack of validation, now let me come with them in order to get that validation back, right? And then you just create like more and more reference experiences where she's hanging out with you in different areas and stuff like that, and then it's far easier for you to go for a poll or whatever the fuck it is, right? Which brings me to the next point, and that's actually very interesting. It's only if. It kind of is similar to what we said earlier about this personal boundaries frame. I usually like to connect this what if with something that requires compliance for her. So let's say I met a girl, it's all going well, and we're outside of the club already, and now I'm saying like, oh, let's go for pizza, or oh, let's go play PlayStation. It's a 5-minute cab ride from here. Here's the cab. So it requires a little bit more compliance from her than, let's say, just exchanging numbers. So she's got to hop in a cab. And then I connected with only if you promise not to creep out the cab driver. Oh, I actually live here. We can have pizza upstairs. Only if you promise not to steal anything. Only if you promise not to creep out my goldfish. Whatever it is. That basically, especially in the connection with that asking for compliance, is basically saying, A, listen, I have, again, personal boundaries, and if you cannot adhere to those rules, it's not going to happen, which means I have standards, which means I must have abundance, which means I am of high value already, which then in turn means, okay, I'm a cool guy and she probably wants to be with me. So it increases the chances. At the same time, it kind of hits her ego a little bit, and girls have a huge ego. Their ego is just differently comprised than a guy's ego. We just want to be, like, guys' egos are like, we want to be the best with girls, we want to be the coolest, we want to be the strongest at the gym, we want to have the most money, whatever it is, you know, like surface level ego basically. And for women, their surface level ego is more like, I am the most desirable woman. Like, I am the hottest. So if you say shit like, but only if you promise to keep your hands off me, she's like, how dare he give me this rule? Like, he should be begging for me to come with him. Why is he not doing that? Am I not hot enough? Am I not cool enough? Did I say something wrong? You know what? I'm gonna show him that I'm amazing. I'm gonna come with him and I'm gonna be the coolest, most desirable woman ever. And now you can pull her. It's basically, it makes it become her idea to come with you. It makes it become her idea to do whatever it is that you connected to the only if. And yeah, it's just a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and she's focused on the only if more so than what you're doing. You know, if it's like, hey, come meet my friends, but I'll introduce you to my friends, but only if you don't embarrass me. So instead of, hey, I'm going to meet his friends, it's assumed it's, don't embarrass me. Like that one I'll say all the time. Only if you don't embarrass me. Only if you be cool. Only if blah, blah, blah. Yeah, powerful shit.
Wow.
The fourth one is covert questions. And this is something I do all the time where, building on this third point where, you know, girls have a certain ego, every really, really hot girl takes pride in being, you know, somewhat bitchy. Not in a mean way, but being like, the bitchy girl, like, I give people shit, you know, I can say that. Takes pride in the fact that they stand out from the masses, that they're special, that they know if it's in a club or bar, different people there, they have access to maybe free drinks, they have access like really cool clothes, cool people, they know the bouncers, you know, whatever.
They're like cool, they get everything for free, life is easy for them.
So when you ask a question in a very innocent, friendly way, but that assumes that she doesn't have that, it's like this, covert little push, you know, this like backhanded push in a friendly question. So for example, if you know it's a girl who probably say a model and you're like, oh, do you work 9 to 5? It's like assuming she works like, she's like, no, of course not. You know, like assuming nothing wrong 9 to 5, but for her in her ego, she's like, I don't work 9 to 5, I'm a model, I make my own hours. It's like, oh, you work 9 to 5? Or, oh, is that H&M? Whatever she's wearing, you know? Oh, is that H&M? Oh, is that Gap? I think I saw that at Gap, right? But like totally like friendly, like not being mean. It's like, oh, is that Gap?
Yeah, totally innocent.
Yeah, versus, is that Gap? No, is that Gap? So it's like coverted, backhanded. Some other ones are, oh, how much was that drink? Because you're like, say, perhaps thinking of getting a drink. You're like, oh, how much was that drink, when you know she got it for free? Or, oh man, that line was crazy, right? Like, I'm guessing you had to wait a while too, or something, you know, anything that assumes that. You know, like, oh, is it your first time here? Oh, you're so nice. You know what I love about you is that you're so nice. And girls like, what? I'm not, you're too nice.
Yeah. Like, I'm not nice. I have standards. Guys have to work. Yeah.
That's what I love about you. The nicest girl.
So it's like the bottom line, the sub-communication here is, like, especially with girls that are actually extra high value, you show her that you don't even see that high value and that you assume that she's lower value. So she has like the expensive Gucci bag and you're like, oh, is that H&M? Like, I just love that. Yeah, small things like that. I used to say shit like, oh, cool.
I did that, by the way, linking to the Gucci. This was, a few weeks ago, a girl with like a fucking sleeve of these David Yurman bracelets, like a sleeve, and you knew she took so much pride. And I'm like, oh, whoa, where did you get those? I love them. Is that H&M? Like, I want to go in for my female friend. Is that H&M? And she's like, oh, this is David Yurman. But like, she can't get mad because you're not being a dick about it. It's like innocently asking. It's like this little, it's again, everything's like playfully provocative.
And you know the craziest thing? Like, you know where we got this from? We got this from girls. Like, because we men, we try to be way more obvious in it. We would be like, oh, like, this doesn't look good. This is probably H&M. And then we think, like, we naked the girl. But she's just going to call you out, like, oh, you're trying to nag me. Like, you probably have low self-esteem. But you got to, like, this shit is so subtle because she has to infer it over, like, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners, basically. That she's just like, she can't call you out. It's so subtle that she feels the diss without really being able to pinpoint it in the very moment. And that is something that women are mastering. Like, if you, like, there's nobody you can learn this shit better from, like, girls who secretly hate each other and the small little, like, poison tips that they give into each other.
Like the friendly fronts, but
but it's actually, like, backstabbing, right? Like, this is the craziest thing. So if you learn these sort of things, like saying no, saying all these, like, little disses that we've been talking about so far, it's basically just communicating on a level that is so high that are women operating in when they diss each other. Because, like, again, like, men, they diss way more obvious.
Yeah.
But women are in this, like, super high level of, like, social mastery shit. And if you're able to communicate on that, that's just really, really insane stuff.
And it shows you get it. Like, you have social intelligence enough to pull it off versus being like, oh, fuck this. It's like, oh, wow, he can play at that level.
Which brings me to the next point, which is very, very similar, and that is you're actually. All right, with the emphasis on the actually. So let's say you meet a girl, she's pretty, and you've been talking for 5 minutes now, and she says a bunch of things that are quite interesting. Now you're like, oh, that's so cool. You're actually really smart. Like, it's again, like, it's a compliment. It's similar to the question, it's like a covert compliment, but it's also backhanded by saying you're actually, because when you're saying you're actually, you're pretty much inferring, like, you're surprised.
Yeah.
So all that she hears, like, what do you mean actually? Like, don't I look smart? And you're like, no, you're actually really smart. Like, again, it's so innocent, you don't even notice it.
Not that bad.
Yeah, you're actually not that bad. Like, who would have thought, right? And it's, again, like, on such a high level, the diss is so covert that she's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And now, like, chances are very high that she's going to inquire further. And now you have that open loop again, and you say, oh, never mind. So anyway, and then you change the topic.
That was actually pretty good. Who knew? And that brings us to the last 6th point here, and that is self-deprecation. Okay, and that's where you make fun of yourself, and what communicates to the girl is that you are so high value, you are so much of the shit that you couldn't be bothered to try to impress her. Because that's what most guys do. They're like, hey, I have a really good job. Look how much money I make. Do you know how much money I made last month? Et cetera, et cetera. You do the opposite. And it's the first thing I do. Like, when a girl asks me, like, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I work at 7-Eleven. And she's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yes. Like, what's wrong with 7-Eleven? Are you dissing? Why would you not think I work there?
Like, I get free drinks there, like, twice a day.
Yeah.
Like, as if it's the most epic thing.
Yeah, it's like, I can give you some free Slurpees if you want, you know, working my way up. It's always been a dream of mine to be a manager someday. Started janitor, and now I'm finally working that Slurpee machine. And in her mind, she's like, you know, I'm having a blast, first of all. Make sure you're having a blast saying it.
Yeah.
But it's showing her, like, why is he not trying to seduce and impress me? What the fuck? Like, who is this guy?
Because she's so used to...
once more it reels her in.
Yeah, it's like almost like she's so used to, like, every guy, like, trying to be the coolest, and then you just don't, you know, just not try hard. Like, I actually had that, while recording for my program Fearless, I had to have this challenge where just, like, look like the biggest loser ever.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just work, like, even better. So the girl's like, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I don't really do anything. She's like, oh, cool, so you're an entrepreneur, right? And I'm like, oh, no, I just don't do anything. She's like, oh, cool, so you study. No, I don't do that either. So she's like, oh, so you're just, like, searching for a job. I'm like, well, if you want to put it that way. And then she's like, so where do you live? And I'm exactly the same, like, oh, I live in my mom's basement. And she's like, oh, that's cool, you're supporting your mom. Like, she would, like, literally, like, try to make it look cool while I just tried to force it on looking like it's like, I'm like, no, it's really shitty. Like, why don't you understand?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, it almost makes the girl chase more because she's like, why is he not trying hard? And again, it shoves the girl in her head a little bit because she's like, why is this guy not trying hard? This is so weird.
Yeah. And with this one too, and actually with all these points, don't overdo it. These are things you sprinkle in the conversation.
Yeah,
if you're the guy who's like, oh, look at me, I'm look how fat I am. If you're like someone who's like, you know, a little chunky, you're like, look how fat I am, look how pathetic I am, look how ugly I am. Like, it's just like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? You know, little sprinkles here and there. But if, you combine these 6 things, you add them in the interactions, you are fucking golden. And notice too how a lot of these disrupt what she's used to hearing. You know, it disrupts the pattern, because that's every girl. It's like, here we go again, and you do something new that disrupts it, and now it's like, oh whoa, I'm no longer on autopilot, and a real, genuine interaction can come from there, can happen.
Love it. All right, so these are the 6 irresistible things to say to a girl in order to make her want you. If you want to dive deeper, which I hope you want to at this point because you've been watching, I have a program called The Natural. You can head over to the website because on there, there's free preview videos on exactly this topic. There's previews of how to approach girls the right way, how to deal with rejection, how to make them chase. These free preview videos are amongst the best preview videos I've ever released anywhere for free. You can head over to becomingthenatural.com. That's the website. Check out those preview videos. If you then say, that's actually pretty awesome, I want to get on board with the program, you can always do that. If not, just watch those free previews as they're already pretty fucking good. That being said, thank you so much for watching. Becomingthenatural.com. Julian and me signing off. GG.